Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hello and welcome. Today's going to be a real treat. This is the third time I've recorded this video because the last time I recorded it, I didn't tell you who the author was or the title of the book. So we're going to start with that. Today we're going to discuss one of my favorite books. It's called A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseni. Hosseni. I'll give you the spelling in the comments. This book is based in Afghanistan during the war. Now, the book is fictional, but the author who wrote it was actually a refugee from the war. His parents fled over here with him and started a life, and they all became very successful. The basic synopsis of the book is you've got two women, Miriam and Layla. Those are the primary protagonists, I guess. It's been a long time since I've been in school. But those are your primary characters. And Miriam is much, much older than Layla. They live completely separate lives in the same city. And then one day, by tragedy, their lives merge into one. In the beginning, both of them had a very hard time living under the same roof. But as the book progresses, they form a bond, which isn't necessarily friendship. It's more of mother-daughter because Miriam is so much older. To rewind a little bit, like I said, Miriam is older than Layla by like a lot of years. Miriam lives with her mother in a hut. Her dad is around, but not like my dad lives here type of around. It's like my dad screwed up and did the do with one of the servants while he's married to three other women, and by sense of duty, and so the town doesn't look at me like I'm an ass, he takes care of them. In the beginning of the book, Miriam's mom really seems like she's mean to Miriam, and it's not necessarily that she's mean. The first time I read it, I was like, ugh. But the more I've read it like 4 or 5 times in the past 5 years. But the more you go through the book, you realize that her mother's not mean. Her mother loves her very, very much. But she is mean in a manner that is protecting Miriam from the city, from the outside world, because of how Miriam was conceived, So it doesn't matter if your mom and dad are trash and they did something, that created you in Afghanistan back in that time frame. You were nothing. You were a scoundrel. They don't use those terminologies, but whatever. So, fast track a little bit. Miriam is married off to a very older gentleman named Rashid. In the description of the book of Rashid, he does so great at describing how Rashid looks, and his mannerisms. So, like, I can see him in my head with the description, sitting on like the couch, I guess, in his house. So anyway, at the time that Miriam gets married off, she's probably like 11, between 11 and 15. She marries Rashid, who's pushing 60, who's been married before, and has lost a child. But she's living there. Okay. Maybe he's not quite 60. I digress. Anyway, she's living there. She's making a home. She's making a life. She's learning how to be an Afghani wife to a very Afghani man. She's trying to figure out what her role is. Now, Rashid has a nasty temper. He is very ugly. He's just very ugly. So, fast track a little bit, barely a little bit. Layla is born. I think she's like 10, like not even 10. She's probably like 20 years younger than Miriam. But she lives like 2 or 3 houses down. And she lives with her mom and her dad. Her mom is just so distraught that her brothers have gone off to war. And the bombings are coming closer and closer and closer to their city. So they have finally decided that they're going to flee, and they're going to go to Pakistan, where there's a refugee camp. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out like that, and Layla's left an orphan. So Rashid kindly takes this girl into his house, and basically, I mean, back then, I don't know if it is now, but you could marry more than one person if you were a man. So that's what he did, because he saw an opportunity to have a newer model, basically. One that could potentially give him kids. And by then, Miriam's an old maid. I think when he married Layla, she was 38. But keeps, just progressing on. They have this awful, awful relationship, Miriam and Layla. Miriam, rightly so, thinks that this young girl came in and stole her husband. Even though that is the culture there, she's still pissy about it. I mean, because why wouldn't she be? I've been the only woman in his life for 20 plus years, and now a new hot model comes around, and I am just the maid. Because that's how Rashid begins to treat Miriam, as Miriam's the maid. Layla's not allowed to leave the house because it's so dangerous for women. But if you need something, Layla, you tell Miriam, she'll go. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy how, and I feel like there's probably a lot of truth to the book. Now, who knows what parts are true and not, other than the author or someone that has experienced that and lived that. But it is just, it's a beautiful book. It really is. It's gut wrenching. It is sad. There's tears. There's angst. But there's hope. The whole time there's hope that things are going to get better. Things have to get better, right? They can't just stay bad all the time. They have to get better. And Miriam and Layla make a way for things to get better. It takes the both of them with more powerful, willful mindset from Miriam than Layla, but it takes the both of them. And ultimately, they both, I don't really know how to put it. They both end up with happiness. May not be happy together, but they both end up with happiness. And the title comes from a poem in the book. And it's just so pretty. It is so pretty. And like I said, the author does a great job of describing the city, the women, the men, So I feel like when you read the book, you can see it, like you can feel it. Now this is the author of The Kite Runner, as well as The Mountains Echoed. I've also read both of those books. Hands down, A Thousand Splendid Suns is the best book out of those. Now, I think he wrote another book. I feel like it's more along the lines of a kid's book. But if I find it at the bookstore, then I'll probably get it just to see. But yeah, hands down, A Thousand Splendid Suns is the best book he's written so far. But I'm going to go ahead and post all of this information in the comments in the description for you guys. So that's gonna conclude our book nook time today. So I'll see you back next week. Thanks, guys.